Good evening. I hope everyone is having an amazing weekend thus far. So, I want to take a couple of minutes to just make a left turn from a couple of the things that we've been talking about for the last couple of videos. And I think it's important because it adds to the mental health of betting on yourself. It's something that I struggle with quite frequently. Grief. Many people that are very familiar with me know that I lost my mom in 2012 unexpectedly. And that has been something that I have struggled with immensely over the last several years. I lost my grandmother when my oldest daughter was just 3 weeks old. And my grandmother was an integral part of my life. So losing her at 19 with a 3-week-old was extremely difficult to watch her unexpectedly pass right in front of my eyes. And then to fast forward and my mom pass, and I struggle with that frequently. And grief is a very difficult machine. And even though we are not guaranteed our infinite mortality, we always like to think of ourselves as almost invincible. And I know that that is what I thought of my mom. I thought of my mom as being invincible. So for death to happen was almost defying of that invincible status that she held. I bring all of this to say that grief goes hand in hand with a lot of who we become and what we are. It took a very long time for me to understand that the grief was hand in hand with my anxieties, adding to me not being able to be, betting on myself or, being the best outcome that I want. It harbored anxiety. It was difficult to cope. You often wonder, is there a recovery? How is there a recovery? You struggle with it. Not only do you struggle with it, but you place an unseen burden on your surroundings. I learned, losing my mom created my emotional terrain for life. You start to look at things in a totally different perspective when you lose someone so very close to you. My cat passed. I had my cat for, let's see, 15, 16 years. I lost her about a week and a half ago. And as crazy as it seems, she's my cat. It was hard to actually, digest that as well. And there are people out there that can't get past that moment. And that's okay. That's okay. Because I finally have gotten myself into a place to where I can actually understand mentally that my mom wouldn't want me to wallow and to continue to be anxietized by the fact that she's not here. She left a huge footprint on me, a huge footprint on her friends and family, and I know that anxietizing over the loss of her was something that she wouldn't want. So I looked past that. But I think that, unfortunately, in the community, Black community specifically, it is very difficult to get past grief and to say that, hey, I need some help. Whatever mental capacity that is, it gets frowned upon sometimes, and it's okay. It's okay because especially when you lose your parent or your, more specifically your mother, you become part of this horrible group of women that have this thing in common, and you find substance and hope in those coping mechanisms that you learn from this wonderful group of women that I have come in contact with that are in the same group as I, where we no longer have our mother. But it comes with great strength. And what you gain from it. And I know that my mom is a survivor. She was a survivor in so many more capacities than I could possibly ever imagine. So I learned valuable lessons in regards to watching her struggle and push through all of the issues and personal situations that she went through. So it was a learning lesson, and I take all of that with me. And, you know, I know that I miss her immensely because of all of the things that she had been through, and she still came out alive behind all of it and resilient. And I say all of this to say that your mental health and grief and learning how to cope and learning those coping mechanisms are paramount to betting on yourself, never leaving yourself out, and making sure that you're always constantly putting one step in front of the other. I'll never get my mom back, and I understand that and I know that. But I have so much more because of what I had from her. Like I said, she's left a footprint that can never be erased. And I challenge everyone out there, for all of those that have lost someone that mattered greatly in your life, whether it was your mother, your father, your child, whomever, would they want you to continuously bet on yourself? How would they want you to cope? How would they want their not being able to be a part of your life affect yours and those in your surrounding circle? I'm quite sure they wouldn't want it to be in a negative aspect. So grab from that, reach from that. And the one thing that I've always learned too is to never allow someone to tell you how to grieve. You can't. So don't. So I know this was totally off the cuff from what we have been talking about before, but it was on my soul. I think about my mom probably every single day. And what would she do? What would she think? And what would she say? And I just try to live in her light. I always just try to stay in her light. And I want you to stay in their light too. Good night, y'all. Bye.